In Ohio, Curtis stands in the rain, staring up at the massive clouds overhead. He's confused. What's falling doesn't seem like water. It looks like motor oil. Later, he has breakfast with his wife, Samantha, and their deaf daughter, Han, before heading off to work. Curtis works for a construction company, while Samantha stays home to care for Han. She also sews items to sell at the local market on Saturdays. That afternoon, Samantha enjoys the company of some friends who bring their children over to play. During the visit, one of the women notices Han picking up a dangerous piece of wood with nails sticking out. Since shouting won't work, Samantha has to quickly intervene. Not long after, heavy rain forces Curtis and the other construction workers to call it a day. They all head to a bar for a drink. At home, Samantha teaches Han the sign for storm as they watch the rain through the window. Later, Curtis drops off his friend and colleague Dart at home. They chat for a while, and Dart remarks on how wonderful Curtis's life seems. But Curtis confesses that things aren't always as perfect as they appear. Their conversation ends when Dart's wife comes out silently, asking him to come inside. Curtis returns home and checks on Han. Samantha shares her concern that Han still struggles to connect with other children. The next day, Curtis starts cleaning up trash around the yard to make sure Han doesn't pick up anything dangerous again. Suddenly, a storm brews, and lightning strikes nearby. Their dog, Red, begins barking uncontrollably. When Curtis reaches out to take Han's hand, Red breaks free from his chain and viciously attacks Curtis, biting his arm. But Curtis wakes up. It was just another nightmare. At breakfast, he can't shake the vivid memory of the dream. Watching Han play with Red makes him uneasy, so he pulls her away from the dog. When Samantha asks what's wrong, Curtis snaps and leaves the house without touching his food. At work, Curtis remains distracted. During a meeting, he keeps looking at his arm, convinced he still feels the pain from the dream. Their boss, Jim, is frustrated about the delays caused by the weather and insists they make up for the lost time. On the way to the site, Curtis asks Dart to help him pick up extra supplies. Later, while taking a break, Curtis sees a strange flock of blackbirds flying in odd patterns. He points it out to Dart, but Dart didn't see anything. He's too busy catching up on work. That evening, Curtis arrives late and muddy to a parent-teacher meeting at Han's school. They learn more about sign language, which is essential for Han. Curtis realizes he needs to improve, as Samantha spends more time with their daughter and knows far more signs than he does. Sometime later, Curtis rushes to the car with Han during another storm. The rain is so intense that he can't see well, and they crash. His head is bleeding, but Han is unharmed. Suddenly, men appear, smashing the windows. One grabs Curtis while another tries to take Han. Then Curtis jolts awake, screaming. It was another nightmare. He goes downstairs, feeling sick. Samantha notices and grows concerned, but Curtis assures her it's just a cold. He tells her to go to the market with Han. While they're gone, he builds a fence around the doghouse to keep Red contained and apologizes to the dog. Though he's supposed to continue cleaning, he gets distracted by a door leading to the storm shelter. He finds a key in an old jar and descends, considering a new idea. That night, Samantha puts away the money she earned at the market, along with their vacation savings. She asks why Red is outside now, but Curtis dodges the question and turns on the news. A report about a gas leak affecting a family adds to his growing paranoia. The next day, Curtis finds Han looking out the window at another storm. When he approaches her, he's startled to see a man standing outside, watching them. Curtis grabs Han and runs to hide as the man tries to open the door. Suddenly, the house begins to shake, and everything in the living room floats in midair. Curtis struggles to breathe, then he wakes up again. Another nightmare. To his dismay, he realizes he's wet the bed. When Samantha enters, he covers the sheets. Embarrassed, he asks for the doctor's number. She tries to check on him, but Curtis pushes her away, not wanting her to see the accident. He apologizes, blaming it on being sick, and insists she go to church while he watches Han. After she leaves, Curtis changes the sheets and washes the evidence. Later, he takes Han to the library and keeps her busy with children's books while he researches mental illness. On their way home, they stop at a grocery store to stock up on canned food, making them late for lunch with Samantha's family. They judge him for skipping church. That afternoon, Curtis begins cleaning the storm shelter and stores all the canned food inside. He then spends time reading the library books down there. Eventually, he manages to see a doctor and explains that he's had trouble sleeping for days. The doctor initially downplays it, but Curtis mentions the nightmares, the bedwetting, and the phantom pain from the dog bite. The doctor prescribes a short-term medication and advises him to see a psychiatrist in Columbus. Meanwhile, Samantha visits the insurance agency to ask about a surgery to help restore Han's hearing. Fortunately, her request is approved, all costs covered by Curtis's excellent job benefits. At the same time, Curtis visits the pharmacy to pick up his medication and is surprised to learn it costs very little, thanks to the insurance plan. That evening, the family has a joyful dinner to celebrate the good news. Curtis doesn't mention the medication. While Samantha starts planning their vacation, now that finances are less of a worry, Curtis secretly takes the pills in the bathroom before bed. The next morning, Curtis wakes feeling more rested than he has in a long time. Samantha notices he looks healthier. However, at work, he and Dart continue talking about food supplies for the shelter when Curtis hears thunder, even though the sky is clear. He asks Dart if he hears it too, but Dart hears nothing. Panic grips Curtis. He runs to a dumpster and vomits. Unable to focus, Curtis leaves work and starts hyperventilating while driving. He pulls over to calm down and notices a place selling shipping containers. He buys one, planning to expand the shelter. Later, he visits his mother, who is heavily medicated and behaving strangely. It's revealed that she developed paranoid schizophrenia at the same age Curtis is now. He tries to talk to her about those years, but she remembers little. Curtis calls his doctor again, saying he can't drive to Columbus for psychiatric help. He asks for another option. That night, he calculates how much it would cost to fully convert the shelter into a survival bunker. The next morning, without telling Samantha, he applies for a home improvement loan. He ignores people's warnings. Back at work, he asks Dart to help him transport some equipment he plans to use for the shelter. Even though it goes against neighborhood regulations, Dart, his close friend, agrees to help despite the rules. Worried, Dart asks Curtis if he's okay, and Curtis assures him that he is. After work, Curtis visits a local counselor and explains his growing fears, supported by research he's done. The counselor clarifies that she can't diagnose or prescribe, but she's willing to help him work through his crisis. Curtis opens up about his past, recalling how his mother once abandoned the family. She was later found eating from a dumpster and eventually committed to a state hospital. These memories weigh heavily on him. He also begins to describe disturbing dreams he's been having. That night, the family attends a school meeting. On the way back, Curtis stops the car, alarmed by intense lightning in the sky. However, his family remains asleep, and other drivers don't seem to notice anything unusual. This deepens his anxiety about his mental state. On Saturday, while Samantha and their daughter Hannah are out at the market, Curtis and Dart begin building the shelter. When Samantha returns and sees the construction, she's furious. The situation escalates when she learns Curtis took out a loan without telling her. She demands an explanation, referencing other strange behavior, like Curtis locking up their dog, Red. But Curtis offers no answers and leaves the room to check on Hannah. That night, Curtis takes more medication than prescribed. Samantha wakes to find him having a seizure and bleeding. She calls an ambulance, ignoring his pleas that it isn't necessary. After the paramedics leave, Curtis finally opens up. He promises Samantha that he's going to counseling regularly because he doesn't want to abandon his family like his mother did. The next day, they take Hannah to the hospital. Her surgery is scheduled for 6 weeks later. At work, Curtis asks his boss to remove Dart from his team, explaining he doesn't want to give orders to his best friend. Jim finds it odd but agrees, warning Curtis that he's missed too much work. Curtis explains it's due to Hannah's medical appointments, but Jim remains skeptical. Later, Curtis tries to buy gas masks but finds them extremely expensive. Meanwhile, Dart's wife tells Samantha about rumors surrounding Curtis's behavior. Samantha defends her husband and insists they're fine. Sometime later, while Curtis is working on the shelter, his brother Kyle visits. Kyle is concerned about Curtis after speaking with Samantha. Curtis insists he's okay and encourages Kyle to visit their mother. Their relationship is tense and distant. As Kyle prepares to leave, Curtis remembers he was looking for a dog and asks Kyle to take Red. On a rainy afternoon, Curtis dreams of finding Samantha soaked in the kitchen, silently contemplating picking up a knife. During breakfast, the uneasy feeling from the dream lingers. When Samantha reaches for his hand, he pulls away. Just then, they notice Jim outside. Curtis rushes out to meet him and receives devastating news. Jim discovered that Curtis lied about taking company equipment. He fires Curtis, giving him only 2 more weeks of health insurance. Dart is also suspended without pay for 2 weeks for helping him. When Curtis tells Samantha, she slaps him and leaves the room with Hannah. Curtis returns to the counselor, only to discover she has been transferred. Unable to face starting over with someone new, he walks out silently. He continues working on the shelter. Meanwhile, Samantha earns extra money by mending clothes, but it's not enough. She's forced to dip into their vacation savings. That night, Samantha and Curtis have a serious conversation. Curtis admits that his fear came from a dream. He takes her hand, trying to show he's making an effort. Samantha says they will cancel the beach trip and use Curtis's final paycheck to cover 2 months of bills. She'll postpone Hannah's surgery, and both of them must find work. However, she sets clear conditions. Curtis must see a real psychiatrist and attend the upcoming school dinner to address his growing isolation. At the dinner, Dart confronts Curtis angrily, blaming him for his suspension. Curtis tries to calm him and asks to speak in private, but Dart lashes out. The confrontation escalates until Dart punches Curtis. In response, Curtis explodes, kicks him back, and throws a table, shouting that a devastating storm is coming and no one is prepared. He breaks down, and Samantha quickly takes him home. Later, Curtis sees Hannah standing in the middle of the road. He runs to her and notices birds flying in bizarre patterns. As he shields her, the birds fall dead around them. Panicked, Curtis rushes inside just as a real emergency siren begins to wail. It's raining hard, so he takes his family into the shelter. Inside, he has them put on gas masks as they fall asleep, waiting for the storm to pass. When Curtis wakes up a few hours later, he listens at the door and still thinks the storm is raging. Samantha wakes and asks him to open it, but he insists it's not over and begs her to feel the door. She feels nothing. Panicked, Curtis backs away, offering her the key. But she refuses. He needs to confront his fear, not delay it. Summoning his strength, Curtis finally opens the door. Outside, it's calm. The sky is clear, and neighbors are cleaning up debris. Everything is fine. Sometime later, Samantha takes Curtis to a psychiatrist. The doctor increases his medication and recommends Curtis take time away from the shelter. He advises the family to take a short vacation before Curtis is admitted to a specialized facility. This means he'll be away from his family for a while. The next day, the family is at the beach. Curtis and Hannah are building a sandcastle when she signs the word storm and points toward the ocean. Samantha steps out and realizes it's raining oil. A massive, dark storm is forming over the sea. Curtis turns to Samantha, and she nods. She sees it too. It's left unclear whether Curtis's visions were prophetic or if his mental illness has begun to affect Samantha as well.